Greetings everybody. This fruit right here is the Ichang papeda. This is something I don't have with me right now, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because the Ichang papeda is one that is not really edible. People grow it for ornamental purposes, but it doesn't have hardly any pulp in it, and the pulp that's there isn't supposed to be all that tasty. However, this is very often crossbred with other citruses to create new citruses, hybrid fruits that are very popular in some parts of the world. The YUZU probably is the most well-known out of all of them. That is what you get when you take Ichang papeda and you cross it with one of these, a mandarin. Some lesser known ones that I've had would be the Yujacha, which is what you get when you cross the Ichang papeda with the mandarin and a pomelo. If you cross the Ichang papeda with a takibana orange, also don't have that one, and a mandarin, you get another fruit that I reviewed in Japan called the sudachi. If you take the Ichang papeda and you cross it with a bitter orange, you get another small green citrus fruit that is used in Japan called the cavaleriei. Those are all fruits that have that as a parent that are used in some parts of the world. However, there is one more that is also used that I haven't had, and that is if you were to take the Ichang papeda and you cross it with the pomelo, then you get this. This is the Shangjuan Lemon. Shangjuan is Chinese, if you speak it properly. I know I'm butchering this. It means fragrant ball.
香球.
And it is pretty fragrant. It's very floral, like chamomile tea. So I'm interested to see how this compares to the sudachi, the cavaleriei, the Yujacha, and the YUZU. And this was very, very generously sent to me by the Monterey Bay chapter of the California Rare Fruit Growers Organization. Thank you for sending me this, as well as all the other fantastic citruses that you have. Not only was I sent the Shangjuan Lemon, but I also was sent a YUZU. So let's see how these two compare. It's a little bit light for its size. Although it's around the size of an orange, it weighs like an ounce or two less than you would expect it to, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to cut it open this way. It's got a very strong smell. I mean, it's called fragrant ball for a reason. And it's very, very seedy, similar to how the YUZU is. Actually, let's cut open the YUZU to see just how similar it is on the inside. This YUZU did not fare as well as the other citruses sent to me, but still it'll give us an idea. The YUZU and the Shangjuan Lemon look very, very similar on the inside. Although there are quite a few seeds in there, they're pretty easy to get out because they all cluster together towards the center. So you just like stick a knife in and pick them out, they come out very easily. Okay, so here is a wedge of the Shangjuan Lemon. Let's try that first. Because it says lemon, I'm a little afraid that it's going to be sour, so I'm going to kind of go easy on it. Oh yeah, it is. Wow, there is a touch of a lemon flavor to it, but lemon is not the main flavor I'm getting there. However, the sourness is pretty close to a lemon. I would give this a 9 out of 10. If 10's a lemon, this is a 9. But the flavor is more like grapefruit. It's got a grapefruit flavor, which maybe makes some sense because grapefruit is what you get when you hybridize the, orange with a pomelo. It's like the sweetness of a lemon. So whatever that is, maybe like a 3 out of 10, like a 2 or a 3 out of 10. And it is a little bit bitter. It's not as bitter as a grapefruit, but it is close. But how does it compare to the YUZU? The YUZU is what you get when you cross the Ichang papeda with a mandarin. So let's see if this has a touch of a mandarin-like flavor to it. Yes, absolutely. It's still pretty sour. Ugh. That one's a 9, this one's maybe an 8. It's a little bit less. If you put some sugar on a yuzu, you could eat a yuzu, just like as it is. With the Shangjuan Lemon, I think it would take more than just putting some sugar on it. The yuzu is sweeter. It's around the sweetness of, say around the sweetness of an orange. Flavor-wise, the Shangjuan Lemon is like if you were to cross a grapefruit with a lemon. Yuzu tastes like if you're crossing a lemon with a orange. They do taste similar, but you can feel that parentage in it when you eat it, which is really, really interesting to me. Because of the similarity between the Shangjuan Lemon and the yuzu, I think it'd be really interesting to prepare this in a way that yuzu usually is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take something that yuzu is very, very often used to make. This guy. This is Yujacha, or yuzu tea. And basically it's like a marmalade that people make out of yuzu, but instead of spreading this on toast, you add hot water to it and drink it like a tea. Especially like if you're sick, this is like a very comforting thing. Although I call it Yujacha, which is the Korean name that I'm butchering, I'm sure, this is from a Japanese company. So I'm going to first try to get out some of these seeds here, and then I'm going to cut it into fourths. And this recipe, by the way, to make Yujacha is from mykoreankitchen.com. Am I going to follow it exactly? Probably not. I'm going to squeeze the juice, and then I'm going to go through, I'm going to try to pick this pulp out. Right? And this, you're going to save this for later. I'm going to take an immersion blender and blend it up. Next, the rinds. You didn't throw them out, right? Good. Okay. So for this, usually recipes actually just have you cut this up real fine and use it just as is. The recipe I'm following, though, recommends taking out the pith. And I think that is a great idea because the pith has a lot of bitterness in it in a regular yuzu. And since I am not using a yuzu, this is a little bit more like a grapefruit. This thing is going to be bitter as hell if I leave this in here. This especially makes sense with what I am doing. But if you're doing it with a yuzu and you like it to be a little bit bitter, then you don't need to take it out. This is a handful of bitterness. How bitter? Very. Taking like a few at a time, go through like this, and just cut them up into little strips. And there you go. Gosh, I don't know, like a cup of rind and less than a cup of pulp. Now what we're going to do is combine it together. You want to see how much fruit you have, and then add a equal amount of sugar. I've got a little gradation on the side here saying how much is in there. 200 milliliters. So I will take 200 milliliters of sugar. I'm just going to measure it up to that line. The sugar goes in to the jar. Some people, by the way, will use honey instead of sugar, but the recipe I'm following says that this is the best way. This gives better results than honey, and I don't want it to taste like honey. I want it to taste like Shangjuan Lemon. Hard to say, even after so long together. I'm going to cover this like so, and leave it on the counter and let it naturally dissolve in there, which probably will take like, I don't know, like a day or something. Yes, it is okay to leave this out at room temperature because the sugar ends up being the preservative, so that'll keep mold and bacteria away. You just want to make sure that the rinds are fairly submerged. One thing to keep in mind though is that sugar does not prevent you from getting bugs. So make sure that the jar is clean on the outside and that the lid is on, because otherwise you will wake up in the morning and this will be filled up to the brim with ants. And that's gross, so don't do that. Okay then, so some time has passed and my Shangjuan cha is done. And basically what I did is I let this sit on the counter until the sugar dissolved. It took about 2 days. I gave it a stir every night, and then after 2 days of being on the counter, I put it in the fridge. Let it sit there until I was ready to make this video, which was like another 3 days. I heard that if you leave this in the fridge for a while, those flavors kind of like mingle a little bit. It doesn't last forever though, so you don't want it to infuse for like 6 months. But like a few extra days actually helps the flavor. And I also have with me some actual Yujacha. This has sugar, yuzu peel, yuzu juice, high fructose corn syrup, glucose syrup, honey, water, and pectin. It's got a lot more stuff in it, thickeners and stuff like that. And despite all of that, it's actually very liquidy. It probably doesn't have as much of the citrus as the one that I made. So we'll see if that makes a difference. I put the same amount in both of these. So I'm going to start with what I think is going to be milder, and I'm going to do the yuzu tea. It's mild. I think I would normally put more of this in here, but the flavor that's there is nice. You get a little bit of a lemony taste, a little bit of like a tangerine, and I'm also getting that honey note in there, which is actually pretty nice. It's like a teeny tiny bit of bitterness from the rind, but not a whole lot. This would be a great thing to have like if you're sick. That's one reason why people drink it, and makes a lot of sense. It's very comforting to drink. I'm tempted to keep drinking it just because it's like a cold day right now, but I'm gonna resist and move on to the Shangjuan cha. It does have a touch of bitterness in there, but not a lot. Like enough bitterness where I think this is plenty. Just that 1 teaspoon in there is fine. But with the yuzu tea, I would put more. I'd probably put twice as much of the concentrate in there. And the flavor that I'm getting from this is like lemon and grapefruit. And which one do I like more? Mine, of course. I like mine. I made it. But also, it I think is a better flavor. This one is simple. It's a simple flavor, but it's a comforting flavor. This, I do like it. I like it a lot, but you're getting that yuzu taste, but you're more getting like honey and sugar. This one, you're getting that fruit. You're getting the fruit flavor, and that is the main flavor you're getting. The sugar is sweetening your drink, but it's not flavoring it. With this one, I think the sugar in here is flavoring what you're drinking. Now I came up with the idea to make this because the Shangjuan lemons are related to the yuzu, so it made sense to do that, and it does definitely work. But neither of those fruits are easy to find, so you know you can actually make this with any citrus. There are a couple that probably wouldn't taste very good or might not be a good idea. The trifoliate orange comes to mind. That one can make people sick. But a lemon, an orange, a lime, that would work for this. Just make sure to wash it really well because the rinds can have pesticides or wax or whatever on it, and that's not going to taste very good. So make sure you wash the rinds really well. Maybe soak them in vinegar for like a minute or something and wash them again before you do this. This is a great way to use up a lot of citruses. You're in a farm share, you don't know what to do with your lemons, or you have an orange tree in your backyard or something. This would be a way to use up those citruses that's going to last longer. You know, once the citrus season is over, you're still going to have a big jar of this stuff in your fridge for a few months. So that's a cool way to use them up. One thing of note is that the recipe that I followed to make this was originally for using yuzu, and it recommended that if you don't have yuzu, to try Meyer lemons because they're close in flavor. I think that's a bad idea. I think it would work, but it would not be nearly as good because Meyer lemons may have a nice juice, and the juice is similar to yuzu. The rind on a Meyer lemon isn't the greatest thing in the world. It's got a little bit of like a medicinal taste to it. I would suggest that if you're going to do this, don't just try the juice, but also try a bit of the rind. If the rind is a little bit bitter, that's okay, but if it's very soapy tasting or very medicinal tasting, that's going to affect this, because you're mostly getting rind flavor from this. And I think that's about it, everybody. Thank you so much to the Monterey Bay chapter of CRFG for sending me all these incredible citruses. I will have more citrus reviews coming up in a couple of episodes. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I would like to give a shout out to Smarter Every Day, AltPod, and the Harbor Leaf Tea Company. They are mega patrons over on patreon.com. If you haven't heard of it, patreon.com it's how this channel happens. It's how I can afford to keep this YouTube channel going. So if you haven't checked it out, please take a moment to go into the description below and click the link there. I also have t-shirts for sale over at my web store. A link to that is in the description as well. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.